Oh no, Mr. Space Marine! What are you listening to?
حيمة إنسورة تي
I would never have pegged you for that type of music.
هي أنخته
They're not dolls, they're minis.
إن ياتس يويا
How did you even get Lava Beast music? Aren't they like trapped beneath the earth or something?
رنن ماتس شويا حيمة
Oh.
حيمة بنا إنسو تنخت
Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to the NPC Reviews. Do any of you remember Polly Pocket? It was a toy targeted at girls consisting of a house or a shop or someplace and a figure. Basically, it was a dollhouse in your pocket.
هو محزنو
What?
زونة حيصة حيوة نخروف
I never had one.
تعرف جناي شوية سنسح
Nope, but I did play with Barbies on more than one occasion. So I told you all that to tell you that naturally, in the 90s, they would come up with a version of Polly Pocket that was targeted at the lads, and that was Mighty Max. It basically was comprised of some kind of not-so-friendly terrain and the Mighty Max figure. You could send him on an adventure or indulge your inner sadist, causing your little Max to suffer some kind of horrible fate. So naturally, they would want a cartoon tie-in to their project, and they created the Mighty Max cartoon show. Now, yes, it is a show to plug a toy line, but the plugging was surprisingly low-key. Also surprisingly was how thoughtful this show could be about the subject matters it touched upon, but more on that later. So I present to you Mighty Max. The story features the adventures of Max, a young lad who is frequently pulled into heroics by his mentors, as he is trained to face his destiny. More specifically, our tale begins with our main villain stating his motivation in an intense and porcine fashion.
Swallow. Chew. Eat me all, so I may bring pain. A tongue to unleash my torment upon them. On the surface, in the sun, dig a path for me to be free.
And then cuts to our hero Max getting home from school, mother nowhere to be seen, and then relaxing with his door-button stack of TVs and bust of Socrates.
Bless this homework, O wise one.
You know, like every 90s kid had. Just then, a package arrives. Is it just me or does he sound like a turtle? Surprisingly, the dimensionally folded package is for Max, and it contains a fowl statue, and with a convenient translation book, translates the hieroglyphics.
You have been chosen to be the cap bearer. Go to the mini-mart and wait for a signed Mighty Max.
Gaining his signature headwear. This causes some magic to happen, and we get some exposition from our villain.
The chosen one could have done this. He's coming, as prophesied, to destroy me.
And he orders his minions to
Find him first and bring me his beating heart. And I'll eat it raw.
You're hardcore!
So Max heads to the mini-mart, but it is being attacked by the Lava Beast minion from before. It sees Max and gives chase, melting things instead of igniting them along the way. So Max escapes via portal and lands in Mongolia, where he meets Norman, the Guardian, and Virgil, the Mentor, and gets his magic cap identified while country hopping via portal.
As such, you, the wearer of the cap, have access to the long-lost transport of the gods.
Hey, it's glowing.
تا امپور انتماؤ النروش شيمناف انفورة معون
After arriving home, Virgil shows Max the portal in the ancient ruin under his house that leads to Skull Mountain, and our villain, Skullmaster. And due to the interference of the earlier lava beast, they are forced to follow it into the portal. Arriving in the underworld, where they are set upon by earth elementals, Norman engages them while Max and Skullmaster meet face to face. Skullmaster is amused.
You're the chosen one, prophesied to destroy me. You're a worm, an insect, and nothing.
Skullmaster bears down on our hero, reaching to kill him when Max discovers Skullmaster's item of power, his arcane bond, if you will, threatens it, and manages to get out of Skullmaster's immediate reach. Shortly thereafter, Max manages to daringly regroup with Virgil and Norman. They slide their way out of Skull Mountain and discover the portal home, 30 feet out over a lava fall, only to be pinned down by Skullmaster. Feeling the arc kaput, Max commandeers a tunneler, destroying Skullmaster's tunnels, and attempts ramming speed at our villain. Immediately after that, Max sets the vehicle to full speed and does a leap of faith out over the lava. It pays off and they escape to the outback with the exclamation,
Hey, we're not dead! We made it!
Thereafter, with some initial resistance, Max and company walk the 50 miles to the next connection home, thus beginning their adventures.
You know, upon deep consideration, I realize I could never be the mighty one. I'm not a hat person.
Max is, well, he's not your average kid. I mean, how many kids have an archaeologist mom who gives them that much freedom? He is mundane, however, at least compared to Norman and Virgil, and he has the attitude you would expect from a 90s kid hero.
حون النيفة أكو عموس.
We will never know.
Max is a wits and guile kind of hero, quick on his feet and willing to enact a crazy plan in order to save the day, or escape with his hair intact. He can also fast-talk a hero or villain to get the job done.
But that's just it, Norm. I can't believe that this is the same guy who tore off Grendel's arm in Hrothgar's Hall. The guy I read about and wanted to be like.
You wanted to be like me? Or you shame me, mighty one.
That's the idea. Just another golden idol from my childhood. Tarnished beyond hope of repair.
At first he is reluctant to the call, but later accepts it, making it a part of his life. Not that he doesn't complain about it semi-regularly, and it does scare and weigh on him at times. The jokes and snark he cracks are his defense mechanism. Virgil is our comic straight man.
My name is Virgil, and I'm a fowl, not a chicken.
The ageless and serious mentor to our mighty one's youthful glibness. He is a Lemurian, from Lemuria.
إيوة حجنا السخطف. إيشة مروتف. مكسنات إيوة
Thank you.
يسميك يوتف. مروشف. نايوة.
Despite his seriousness, he is not unflappable or so above it all, and despite any arguments or moments of annoyance with Max, he does care about the lad and has an unshakable faith in him. While his powers are low-key, he could be described as a divinist par excellence, what with his mastery of Lemurian mathematics. But even he can be taken unaware or confused by the gambits of their enemies, although it doesn't help that, spoilers by the way, Virgil was mentor and former friend to our dear Skullmaster. Your friends know how to fool you best, after all. All in all, he is a good mentor to the Mighty One, as well as a good stand-in for Max's absentee father.
They call me Norman.
Norman. Good old Norman. The guardian to our hero, because everybody could use a good bodyguard, right? Like our foul friend Virgil, he is ageless, coming in at around 10,000 plus years old. He is a great warrior who is something of a subversion of the 90s anti-hero. He loves to fight, bears a slasher smile seen in the credits, and has a tragic backstory, but he generally doesn't let it get him down, and he has a destiny-induced fear of spiders. Also, he does genuinely care about Max and Virgil, and doing good in the world. All in all, he is a powerful warrior with his own stock of action phrases.
I've seen worse. Allow me. I eat aliens for breakfast.
Although he does sometimes get the Worf treatment if they want to show the threat of a foe. Norman also does heroic temp work for the powers that be. He's been Thor, Samson, and Lancelot. Does that make Norman a homewrecker? Other persons of note would be Max's support network, because if Blue Beetle or Buffy has taught us anything, is that a healthy hero has help. First off, we have one of Max's two best friends, Felix. He's the quiet sort, not really an action guy, so he tends to get left behind a lot, but is supportive with his presence. Then we have his other best friend, Bee, short for Beatrice, although she is not fond of the name. She is the level-headed, more studious one of the pair. Much like Felix, she knows about Max's heroic extracurricular activities, and is supportive of them, even joining in on occasion, coming up with different viewpoints and ideas that impress even Virgil. And yes, she does have romantic interests for our hero, now that she would admit it, coming off as something of a tsundere. but without the physical abuse that often comes with that appellation. All in all, she is a grounding force for Max, which is amusing considering she knows how to fly a plane. And then we have Max's mom, also known as Max's mom. We never do get her name. I think she is what you would call a cool mom, you know? She's a single mother, globe-trotting archaeologist who can more than keep up with Virgil and always makes sure Max does his homework and has something for dinner. Overall, she is a good parent who is skeptical but accepting of Max's role as the mighty one. While accepting, this does not prevent her from worrying about her son. Like that one time he was thrown into a Turkish prison. Hey, that means Max is technically an ex-con. She might have a bit of a doom magnet thing going on, though. Whenever she and Max head out, something tends to happen, but that could just be fate doing its thing. As for Max's dad, he's not there. No word is mentioned of him. The comics that came with the original Terrain mentioned him as being the one who gave Max the cap, but as seen, that changed in the series. Sorry lad, no dad for you.
Please, let me be here. I need to have a role. I'm sorry, but you've been adapted.
Our big bad of the series is Skullmaster. He too is from Lemuria, and as mentioned is the former friend and student of Virgil. To put it simply, he is a threat to everyone and everything. He destroyed Lemuria and he destroyed Atlantis. One more and he gets a free yogurt. He is a magic user of great skill and a physical powerhouse. He is such a threat he had to be sealed away below the earth, but that only slowed him down. Besides his greatness of might and magic, he is also a chess master par excellence, with plans usually working out, and in the off chance his plans don't work, he has backups. Despite all of this, he still wants ultimate power and dominion over creation, but to get that, he needs the cap of the Mighty One. But
the rules say I can't take it from you. I needed you to fork it over.
What I like most about Skullmaster is that he is a tempter trickster type who wears a foul face. An honest face, you could say. He's like a Glabrezu. He tempts and corrupts with naked ambition and power. It's an angle you don't typically see. He's so good at it that he convinced the entire nation of Atlantis into giving him their souls. Enough said. He is a villain I can get behind. Also worth mentioning is Skullmaster's cruel and sadistic lieutenant, Warmonger. Hey, it's a better name than Necromonger. He's Skullmaster's dragon, but he does have some ambitions of his own, willing to betray his master, which Skullmaster approves of. It's rather Sith-like. Then there are a series of mostly one-off villains, a number of them based off the toy sets. All have their interesting points, in particular the Spirit of Violence and Dr. Robert Scorpio. Most of them only show up in their one or two respective episodes, but a few do show up again towards the end. As for the technicals, the animation shows its decade, but still looks pretty good, and there aren't any obvious or glaring mistakes. No changing number of shurikens or missing legs. The character designs are also pretty cool as well. True, Max is pretty every kid with his t-shirt and jeans, but Norman and Skullmaster do fall into my preferences, and who doesn't love a giant yellow-eyed dragon?
Although, apparently dragons too have to bend their spines in unnatural ways in order to appease the male gaze.
I can't fault the opening music. It gets one motivated for the show, and lets itself out once the show starts. The voice acting is of quality as well. Besides Tim Curry and Rob Paulsen, we have the likes of Tony Jay, Tress MacNeille, and Richard Mole lending their voices to the characters, along with other veterans and well-knowns. A solid gold star all around. One of the things that stands out about Mighty Max is that it stands above other shows of its time. While not layered like a number of current kids' shows, and it didn't have the sophisticated storytelling of Gargoyles, a popular show from the 90s, it handled certain subject matters maturely. Things like violence, paranoia, the nature of destiny, heck, even how another sapient species might define intelligence differently than humans. Where other shows might brush these things off or hand-wave them, Mighty Max talks about them and that they should be considered. The world of Mighty Max also has some interesting potential as well. It presents some interesting takes on classic monsters, vampires actually being bugs for instance, and the presence of Atlantis, Lemuria, and other mythologies, along with the presence of lava beasts and other critters, leaving a setting rife with adventure and something of a pulpy feel. Additionally, the show can be educational without being ham-fisted about it. In fact, the educational segments are entirely optional, coming after the main episode is done. If I have any narrative quibbles, it's these. The show has a very narrow and unflattering image of nerds.
If you had, you would have known that you do not format a hard drive with a ball-peen hammer. Looks like you blew out the BTR and SCSI with a little extra juice in the GUI, Maxi. So, you ready to get started on our next mind-blowing challenge in the wonderful world of computers? Or, if you're feeling adventurous, we might roll up our sleeves and dive right into some artificial neural nets. I get goosebumps.
Now, I know it was the 90s and that was a common misconception on TV, but the nerd character they present is so over the top that even Urkel would be like, tone it down a notch, would you? The other quibble being that there is no episode where Norman and Virgil meet Max's mother and friends for the first time. They just show up in episodes together and they know each other. I guess that's good for syndication?
The thing that really stands out to me, though, it has an ending. The show has an ending! Mighty Max is an enjoyable show that has stuck in my mind despite the years. This is due to its interesting setting and the standout nature of its lead villain, although being voiced by Tim Curry doesn't hurt either. It's a mature kids show that is unabashedly 90s, but not annoyingly so. They never once say, radical! But that does mean some of the references might be a bit dated for younger viewers, but it shouldn't be too much of a hindrance. Additionally, if you don't want to watch the full 40 episode run, you can stick with the Skullmaster-centric episodes and call it good. If you hadn't guessed, I recommend Mighty Max for your viewing and sharing pleasure. So grab your cap and friends and enjoy the action quips. So until next time, fare thee well, my lovelies.
I'm free! I'm free! What the?